Happy World Pasta Day, and welcome to Week 8 of the 2023 Sandlot Fantasy Football League. It's the Real Deal or No Schkapeel podcast, and with me this week, I've got Nick. What's up, Nick?
Yo, what up? It's Happy Pasta Day? That sounds amazing.
Yeah, and I got Hillers. What's up, Hillers?
All pasta?
Yeah, so what's you guys' favorite pasta?
Ooh.
Like if you're just making like a just pasta with sauce, right? You're just making it, maybe throw a meatball in there, you know.
So like
just
lasagna's too fancy.
Yeah, we're just talking like basic pasta in a bowl, right?
Oh. Well, I mean that could be any of it, right? It all tastes the same if it's just boiled with nothing on it.
It all tastes the same, but you know, there's shapes, man. I'm a rigatoni guy.
Oh, I just like, you know what, the idea of just having a good pasta, like a good homemade pasta, is just so unbelievably awesome that I can't even. I don't have a favorite. It could be spaghetti, it could be rigatoni, it could be, you know, give it any shape. However, I will say that the best pasta I've had, and you know, this might be a thing that people have had well before me. It was in the last 5 years that I had this for the first time, but I had cacio e pepe for the first time like 5 years ago.
What the hell is that?
Okay. That's when they bring out a wheel of Parmesan cheese and they serve you the pasta from a wheel of Parmesan cheese.
Go on.
Oh.
Basically,
fettuccine. A wheel of Parmesan cheese.
It's basically fettuccine Alfredo, except they just give you a wheel of Parmesan cheese in the middle. And it's like a bread bowl, but it's not bread, it's cheese.
That's fantastic.
That was amazing.
I mean, it sounds more like cheese than pasta, but I'm on board.
But there was
pasta involved. There was pasta involved.
If we can get cheese involved, then just mac and cheese. You know, call me basic, but some elbow noodles and some cheese. There's no day that won't get it done.
Nothing wrong with some good elbow noodles for sure.
Yeah.
Get some Kraft cheese. Get some powdered Kraft cheese with those elbow noodles.
Some goulash. You know.
Wow, goulash.
Yeah.
You can put them in soups. You know, just whatever. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Is most pasta dishes just technically soup anyway? Or are we not getting into that
we're not doing that. We're not doing that.
The soup alignment chart?
No,
maybe next week. Maybe next week.
Soup is a sandwich and every sandwich is a steak or whatever. Yeah, we're not doing that.
Is chili a soup?
Nick can't resist. Throwing one of the most controversial foodstuffs in there. Yeah.
Tell you it was chili though. The Wing after Nick put up 199 points against them this week. And who else did you play?
Yeah.
Estrick.
and some other pile of organs.
Put Estrick on notice. New record. 199 was it? And the old record was 195.
To be fair, the old record was 195, but we changed the scoring this year to give one more point, passing point per touchdown. So it's, according to the old record, it's 196. So I still beat the record, but it's only by 1 point by the old record. So
whatever.
No, it is. I did kind of feel bad about that because like, ooh.
Well, but we also don't count the pre-PPR records either. You know.
Well, we do. Yeah. Well, yeah. You're right. We don't.
There's more points than had to be general, but by any point scoring, that was an unusually savage beating. They were long dead.
Just to rewind it, yes, you're right, Merrill. We don't factor in pre-PPR scoring. You're right, and that's fine. But we've also been doing PPR for almost 10 years now, so we kind of have enough of a sample size to be able to overwrite enough of the data to say that this is what the new standard is. But yeah.
PPR.
I'm just saying. I just want to put those asterisks. So just
PPR added about 25 points a game almost to each team. I think the average was in like the 90s before, and now our average is hanging out around 117, 118 per game.
Riveting statistical analysis. Good job on your great game, Nick. That was a hell of a thing. It seemed like it just kept going at every opportunity there. So
yeah,
well done.
Brutal. To put it in context of what that means, to just what 199 means in the grand scheme of things, or 185 too for what Pritchard did a couple years ago. Not throwing any shame on the second place team right now. The highest scoring team of all time right now. This includes playoffs. So the first 13 numbers are championship games. So it's going to be Toilet Bowl and championship games because both scores are combined for this.
So you're talking about the 2 week games
we're talking about the 2 week
championships, yeah.
Right. So in 2020, I have the highest score in in a championship game of 279 points. I thought that was peculiar too, and then realized that was a toilet bowl game.
I was going to say
That's why I won the
had to be a
toilet
toilet bowl. Yeah.
Okay. CTR is at 266 with the next highest score.
That was against me. Yep.
That was against you. Okay. So all the way down, so it's pretty much scattered. Like, so 279 is the benchmark for like the highest scoring
Juju
team.
Smith-Schuster and George Kittle. Thanks for that.
The highest non-playoff game is it was actually the lowest scoring. Actually, it was that was the lowest scoring playoff game is the Troops at 204. So I was 5 points away from beating. I was 2 weeks away from being the highest 2 week total of a team.
I mean, we're talking about every player on your starting roster scoring over 21 points. 21.777 repeating points.
Repeating, of course.
Repeating. I mean, for a while. I think it goes to 8 after a few digits here, but that's ludicrous. The kicker, 21.7 points. The defense, 21.7 points. The tight end, the same. I mean, it's wild. It's an absolutely wild amount of points for an
clear,
entire...
that's not what they scored. You're just taking an average of...
Right.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a second. Yeah. I did not score 21 points out of my kicker.
Yeah, it would have been a lot weirder if everyone on your team had scored 21.7 points. Exactly.
It's not just how much you score, but it's who you did it against, because you've broken Andy. He's done.
Snapped him like a twig.
It's over for him. He's totally given up, and certainly, I'm sure he's talking to people this week about making some moves and getting rid of some guys. But yeah, Andy. We'll get into his team here in a little bit, and then you kind of you hit your division rival at the same time with Esther. You put him on notice and said, "Hey, bud, this is my division. Haven't forgotten what you did to me last year either." So,
I mean, it was putting those points up was great, and we'll stop talking about me in a second. But I was definitely being that guy on Discord Sunday night, like hoping for just one more point because I wanted 200 points.
Yeah,
I wasn't trying to be a jerk. I wasn't trying. Like, I had won, so it was fine. I just wanted 200. And now I think, like, looking at it, 200, someone scoring 200 points in a week, given what I put up this week, Merrill, you putting up 185 a couple weeks ago, like 200 is going to be in the realm of possibility in the near future, right, in our league, and that's going to be crazy.
I think especially with trades that are happening now, more people are buying and selling at the trade deadline. Teams are optimizing more and more. I think for sure that I'm with you.
It doesn't diminish the fact that 200 points is a lot of points.
And one of those trades happened this week, although
it did.
We'd like to ask Mr. Hillers about this one because he dealt one of his sell pieces in a high price Rachaad White at a non-keeper price to a contender, and in return he got the valuable future options of Jared Goff and Zeke Elliott. So
I actually kind of like Goff as a keeper at $1. With the Amon-Ra St. Brown stack, and he's actually been performing at a really high level this year. I like how the Lions are looking. I wasn't getting a lot of good offers. There's not a lot of people that can even afford to trade a replacement level running back. And it's always good if you're looking at what's going to happen next season to be able to account for a couple of different outcomes there. So. Yeah, away he goes. But seventh best quarterback this season. But we'll see if so far if that can keep up. It could be a great value going into next season. Easy way to free up the money that you need for the real expensive players in the draft next year, and maybe still buy a backup of some quality, which I like to do.
Just to push back on that a little bit. Jared Goff was
I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you, Merrill. So
Jared Goff was undrafted this year. So you could have gotten him for $1 in the draft if you really wanted him.
Well, I didn't know I wanted him until he did really well for 6 weeks, and the Lions started to
How did he do last year, Nick? Are you looking that up?
I know. As soon as he started talking, I started pulling that up. I'm looking.
He was also pretty good last year. And he's not $1 to keep. He's $4 to keep.
Sure.
So,
fair.
Unless you win the toilet bowl, which was my prediction anyway. But
if anyone has better offers, I'm still selling things.
He was number 15 at 107.02 Carson Wentz was 107.46. Aaron Rodgers was 107.78. And Tom Brady was 113.08. And Marcus Mariota was 113.86.
Marcus Mariota outscored Jared Goff last year?
Apparently. So your Jared Goff is in the Tom Brady of 2022 range of quarterbacks that you could very easily pick up in the draft for $1.
Maybe. Wanted to have him.
Fair enough.
Well, he's yours. He's all yours.
Especially with quarterback scoring going up, I like to have one locked down and know who my keepers are going to be. I would have preferred to try to get into some of the promising tight end situation, but didn't look like that was going to happen. Felt like I had wide receivers locked down, and there's really just not much going in the running back category for potential keepers next year.
Then why would you trade for Ezekiel Elliott? Because he's a keeper?
Just handcuffed to Vindicator.
Is he?
Yeah.
Are you going to be happy to plug in Zeke if Vindicator went down? Like when
he wasn't the main piece of the trade.
Stevenson wasn't even doing well. Okay.
They're kind of in like a running back by committee sort of situation right now. So
I wouldn't know.
Nick,
it's not really. You got it. It's fine.
What are the odds that he actually keeps Jared Goff next year?
Oh, there is a zippy chance he keeps Jared Goff next year.
Yeah.
50-50.
No.
Well,
I mean, he does or he doesn't. You're right, Hillers, you're right. You do or you don't.
Yeah,
you're absolutely
50,
right.
50,
Yeah,
sure.
everything's 50-50.
There's a 99% chance you keep him. I'm just that unlucky.
Yeah, I mean, Rachaad White, like, let's be honest, it's not exactly setting the world on fire either. He's the 24th best running back.
No, but that's not what we're saying. I guess we're saying, like, it doesn't seem like you actually got anything that
but like
goes
and the
towards
trade
your goal of helping.
I got someone I thought I might keep for someone.
And your trade happened so early in the week that like.
But we'll get into that when we get to his team too. I think some of that.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
But yeah.
Yes, we will.
You're right. It did.
Speaking of, okay, so let's keeping this moving on.
All right.
We did have some controversy this week to take over the hosting role. Sorry, Merrill. We did have some controversy this week. Assassins did forfeit due to starting someone in the IR. And I think
they had a player in the IR who was active.
Yeah,
and he played.
Well, I don't know if it's controversial so much as just sort of sad. You know what I mean?
Okay,
we know
you're
what
right.
the rule is.
You're right. Hillary's absolutely right. That's the rule. We discussed it at the draft. This has been a rule for 20 years that we've known this. I look at this and just think that there's a problem with this. I see a problem in this scenario. And I see it on multiple fronts, and so that means that there are multiple ways to solve this problem. I don't know what it is, but I just want to talk to you guys and figure out, at least cursory, what the kind of solution. And feel free to comment on the video what you would do to fill this out. And while you're commenting, like and subscribe.
Or in our weekly bitterness, do your own damn podcast if you.
No, that's later. We do that later.
We say. I mean, we can say whatever. It's like a trademark catchphrase for us now.
Actually, the trademark is. Are we recording?
Are we recording this?
We are recording this.
Oh, okay, good.
So my first thought is that my first thought is
what's
that
the problem?
Are...
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, you're getting there.
Okay. So my first thought is that
he's working
forfeiting. My gut reaction is that if you start an illegal lineup and you have to forfeit your games, that you get the losses, but your opponent shouldn't get the wins. My gut reaction says that that's bad for the league. Is giving away free wins because of someone else's fuck up isn't good for the league of what we're doing. Is my initial stance on this. Thoughts? Yeah,
but it doesn't quite work. I mean, I see where you're coming from. That you shouldn't, but even calling them, nulls or whatever you call them, still screws up the math, and it screws up their competitive advantage if they get a.
Oh, but this isn't
or something as vice a win on any given week for any reason, right?
What is the math that it screws up though? Like we don't like there is
plays and divisional records.
We play your all play is based on a 12-win, and we wouldn't change your all play. We would just change your overall record. The stat that we change is the adjust the win losses. We don't adjust your points for, which wouldn't affect your all play. We don't adjust which doesn't affect so it doesn't affect your points for, and it doesn't affect your all play. All we're doing is not rewarding.
How does it not affect the all play if you don't give them the win? Does it
because
just
their points
not-
for would still be calculated.
All play is only based on the points you scored that week versus so those we don't touch the points you scored.
They take it off a different
Right,
source.
It's a different right.
Okay.
And to be clear, we're not changing any of this year. This year, it is what it is. Watson's going to get the losses, and
They've already been applied.
Dez and is it Grimes or
Doesn't Grimes.
Dez and Grimes will get the wins. So that we're not changing that, but we're trying to look for like a middle ground. And maybe there isn't one, but I was doing some reading, Hillers, and for instance, one of the things I found was, there's a few. One is teams say if you forfeit, you just get 0 points, and that's that. That doesn't solve the problem Nick's trying to fix here, obviously.
No, it's actually, if anything, makes it worse.
Makes it worse. So there's another middle ground where say, and we can do, well, let's start with this. You take out, if you have an illegal lineup, your score still counts, but at the end of the week, your best player is removed from your lineup, and your lowest scoring player is put in, your lowest scoring bench player is put in their place. So you could still, in theory, win the game at that point, but it's going to be tough because you're probably taking a 20-plus point player out of that lineup.
Well, right? It could just be a point hit that we apply too, and if they still manage to win, then they can get over it. But if we could do like 20 points off your score, you know what I mean, and see how you do.
It could be something like that too, and that's kind of what we're trying to flesh out a little bit.
What if
there are other options? It's just a question of can people coalesce on one, and are they willing to coalesce on one? I mean, it has been a rule for 20 years. Watch your lineup, set your thing. I mean, we are all getting older. These things are harder to keep track of every second of every day. So I do get it. It seems a pretty stiff penalty for like.
Well, it's not the penalty. We don't care about the penalty. We're fine with the penalty. I think the problem is giving the free wins to a team who scores 85 points or something, right? Like a team that scores 85 shouldn't get bailed out by someone else's forfeit, right? And
so I have
that's kind of what we're looking at.
So I had this idea last night, and I don't think this. I think that this actually encourages rule breaking, so I don't think this is actually the right solution. But I was thinking that what if you what if you subtract the illegal roster, like you subtract that player's point total from your overall score? Like I don't really like that.
I don't think that's enough. I mean, Jamal Williams, he scored 2 points this week?
Yeah, so that doesn't discourage. That's why I say it doesn't discourage it. That it doesn't discourage it.
Yeah, and a lot of times in that scenario, a guy would be fresh off injury, such that you might not even recognize he was playing that week, and it might be like a couple of snaps.
I mean, to be fair, our penalty used to be loss, and you have to drop the player that caused the illegal lineup. That used to be the rule.
Are you sure?
Yes. And then we became lenient and said you have to make it a valid roster, but that used to be the rule like many eons ago, back before the Exodus.
I don't remember.
I don't remember that benighted time.
But anyway, we're trying to figure out a way to. We don't need
to. Give it some thought. Store it up for rules yelling next year. Could be good rules yelling next year, especially after all the wild situation that went down this year.
Yeah, I just don't think that I just don't think looking at the standings that suddenly Dez being in first place because he's in the division because he scored 95 points and should have lost is I don't think that that's good for the league that we've artificially given him a win.
There should be a penalty for an illegal lineup. But maybe this penalty is too steep. I think.
Yeah. Well,
I think I think the automatic. That's my thing. I think the automatic loss. Is
nothing shocks the conscience like Dez being at the top of a division for any reason.
Well, it's not even that. I mean, but it's also. We could also maybe even do a tiered approach where your first offense is this, and the second time it happens, it's
not doing a tiered offense.
Yeah. But so anyway, all options are on the table. We'll just
give it a look.
No bad ideas in brainstorming here. Workshop it. Explore the studio space.
Make sure we do it.
Hey, Meryl, it's week 7, right?
It is. What does that mean?
What do we do after week 7?
I don't know. Hillers, what do we do?
It's time. It's time for the rating of teams based on their goodness or terrible badness. By now we know. These are known facts now. We know them.
Meryl, let's try this again.
It's known.
Meryl, what time is it?
It's time for the real deal or no Schkapeel.
Yeah, just trying a little setup or whatever, but okay, that's fine.
A tradition unlike any other. Welcome.
Well, that's true.
We're happy to have you. How does this work? Well, it's kind of up to us how we want it to work each year, but for the most part, do we think these teams are playoff contenders or not? And we're just going to run through and talk about it. And for some, you have to be a predicted playoff team. For others, you can just be a contender.
Yeah. There's only 5 legitimate spots, but some waffly, undecided, limp-wristed analysts out there will decide they can have 6 or 7.
Well, not
teams
everybody
are real deal.
not everybody gives up in week 2, right? So a lot of teams are going to contend all the way through the season.
Are you contending?
But it's our job to decide which ones are the real deal. Lots of people contend.
Yeah.
Many contenders. Only few real deals.
After this week.
Yeah, you quit contending in week 2 though, so that was.
No, I contended differently. I quit contending after this week.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that said, let's get into it, and I guess we're putting a little twist on this, or do we want to just do that as we go?
Yeah, we'll put a little twist on it.
Yeah. Well, just so you're not surprised that we're not just saying real deal, move on. No Schkapeel, you suck. Next team. What we're gonna do is try something a little different. Something hopefully is a little bit of fun. We're gonna pick out 3 players from each team, and we are going to do the classic F Marry Kill game. Except since it's fantasy football, it's going to be keep, cut, or trade. And so we're all going to say, given those 3 players, you must keep one, you must cut one, you must trade one. Obviously, you don't actually have to do that. But in that hypothetical, who goes where? And we'll see, maybe not only get a look at some of these players' best teams and their interesting psychological drama, but also what we think of different players at this time in the season. Because sometimes, for a bad team, and real deal or no Schkapeel week, a keep player maybe isn't who you think it would be, and a trade player maybe isn't who you think it would be. So, we will see. We'll give it a shot.
All right. Well, why don't you start us off then, Hilders? We'll start with the assassins here.
Very well. Start with the one on the top of the show notes. You say
gotten a lot of coverage this year. The assassins.
Yeah, not for the reasons you want.
Not for the.
But this is still an owner that conceivably will keep some of these players going into next season. Obviously, we couldn't do them all because you only have three players to talk about for each team. In this case, we're talking about Jahmyr Gibbs, Najee Harris, and Kyle Pitts. You are Watson. You're looking at the shattered ruins of your season and wondering what do I pick from the ashes to try to carry on here? And there can only be one between Gibbs, Harris, and Pitts.
Yeah. I mean, I guess
I know what it is. I mean, that's
okay.
mine's.
Well, go ahead. You're
right.
as the most decisive host. You have first right. Tell us.
I'm dropping Gibbs. I'm keeping Harris, and I'm trading Pitts.
You're keeping Najee Harris?
I mean, given the constraints of the game,
this is Najee Harris.
Absolute scenes. Here.
I mean, giving the rules of the game, and that I have to choose. Well, I mean, can I do drop, keep?
Yeah, no, you cannot.
Yeah, no, I'm trading.
No.
Yeah, I'm cutting Gibbs.
I was wondering the same thing.
No,
I'm
it's
cutting
Watson's
Gibbs.
team. All 3 would be drops.
Yeah,
but
I'm cutting Gibbs.
Choose.
I'm keeping Harris, and I'm trading Pitts.
Trading Pitts and hoping somebody out there still believes in him.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm keeping Gibbs, I guess, would be mine.
I would also keep Gibbs. Drop Harris and drop Pitts because I don't think anyone else believes in him anymore. And try to trade Harris. There's probably a few Najee believers out there still that you can get the best value out of those 3 in a trade from Harris.
Yeah, you probably could. You're a running back nut though, so.
Well, I'm definitely not a Kyle Pitts nut.
Do we also?
I don't know.
No,
I don't know who
not
is.
many of them left.
Some vanishingly small population.
Do we want to do some just quick points also about this? One of the things I meant to do was kind of give a little thing. He's currently Watson's 1-9 with a 10-67 all play. He's averaging 87.4 points per game, which is last in the league. This year, he has traded away Cooper Kupp and DeAndre Swift to help get him to where he is right now.
Wow, that makes it so much worse.
Currently the only team with no running backs or wide receivers who have hit the 100-point mark on the season. And for all those reasons, I'm going to say no Schkapeel.
I mean, technically he is 3-7. No. Basically he's 3-7, but technically he's 1-9. So he did win 2 other games this weekend by cracking the 120-point barrier. Just to give him the props that he deserves, like he did beat 2 teams this week. He just didn't beat them
except he didn't.
Except he didn't. Actually,
like to be fair, like whatever. I mean, he's no. It's no Schkapeel.
Yeah, it's an easy no Schkapeel on this
Yeah.
one.
Right.
I'm moving on.
The Wounded Ducks, our next team. This is who Nick picked as the division winner in this division, by the way, at the beginning. Of the
Looking
season.
good.
Looking good. You know, he's hanging around. He's 5-5 right now. Grimes is 38 and 39 in all plays, so right where he should be record wise. Averaging 114.2 points per game, which puts him in 8th. Now the points per game is interesting. Just stepping back a bit, there's Watson, who's down at 87, and then there's 9 teams who are between 110 and 120, basically, kind of clumped together, and then there's 2 teams that are kind of on the higher end who have kind of separated themselves from that. So we'll get to that, but I think that those 9 teams in the middle are really, they're pretty tight. I think overall we can kind of go either way on those, but it's going to depend on injuries and week to week scores or whatever. But anyway, that's the setup for the Wounded Ducks.
Yeah, firmly in the middle clump, but he's looking on. He's saying, to be a champion in this league, I might need a team that's better than middle clump. And he has 3 players that he must choose: Etienne, Ridley, and Pollard.
Meryl, why don't you go first?
I'm dropping Ridley.
It's time, right?
Yeah, it's not happening. It was a great week 1, but it's not happening. And so if I have to drop him, obviously I'd like to hold him, but you got to drop somebody.
You can't.
So, dropping Ridley. I am trading Pollard, and I'm keeping Etienne. I'm not a Pollard guy.
I would just switch those 2.
Yeah, I'm switching them. I'm with Meryl. I think it depends on what he's trying to do. If he's in the middle.
What are you trying to do?
Yeah, and that's the question. Yeah, Etienne's his best piece. So if he's trying to win, he needs to trade Pollard. So then you're keeping Etienne.
I'd still keep Pollard. I think Pollard has had a little bit rough go to the beginning of the season. I still like where he is. I just don't feel settled in that the Jacksonville has truly bought in forever after 6 games. Right now, Etienne is obviously playing better. He's younger. I fully understand that. At $46 though, I'd keep Pollard and trade Etienne for.
What do you mean after 6 games? Sorry.
Well, he had a bad one in week 2.
I mean, this is his 3rd season.
Yeah, but this is the one where he's been doing the best, right? He wasn't doing nearly this well in previous seasons.
This stretch might not be enough.
And all my analyses are about this year. I'm a very "what have you done for me lately" sort of guy. I don't trade on names.
Oh, yeah. I did have a fun stat about that. But okay.
The other thing I'll say here is the Wounded Ducks are actually tied for 2nd in highest points against right now. So been a little unlucky there. Joe Burrow is honestly the one killing this team. Burrow is currently quarterback 25 in points per game, which is behind Bryce Young, Jimmy Garoppolo, Josh Dobbs, and Baker Mayfield.
Right, but what's Stroud doing?
Stroud's
well, but I'm saying this is what we're looking like, and so hey, this is my stat. Let me do my stat, okay?
Sure, sorry.
Quit shooting holes in my stats.
His stat is Cincinnati bad. Why?
Yeah. So last year, for instance, Joe Burrow was averaging 26 points a game at this point, and this year he's averaging just under 13. So that's a 13-point difference.
That's huge.
Which if you add 13 points to his 114 points per game, all of a sudden this team is really good, right? So
top tier.
For that reason, I'm going to say real deal for this team as well.
Right, but what's CJ Stroud? But Burrow is not his quarterback. CJ Stroud's his quarterback. And Burrow was hurting him for a while, but that's not his starting quarterback right now. I think that's the thing.
What I'm saying is what Burrow did last year and what he expected Burrow to do this year. If he had kept on that trajectory and done what he did last year, if he had just maintained, then he would be having 13 more points a game out of Burrow.
If my players were good, I'd be good too.
I mean, he's a real deal for me. So I'm not arguing.
And I guess that's more to say, if Burrow turns it around and all of a sudden he starts playing like Burrow, then this team.
But he doesn't. But Burrow's not. Burrow was $8 at the draft. $8 is nothing. How many $8 sub $10 players do you have at the draft that didn't pan out?
I understand that, but Burrow is also the quarterback he had planned on keeping for years as his franchise quarterback, right? And was going to be a starter. I understand that has changed now for whatever reason. But and CJ Stroud is QB 13, so he's averaging an extra 5 points a game, maybe, than Burrow. So it's not like a huge amount. But Burrow was supposed to be a top 5 quarterback, and he has not been, and that's what's hurting him. And CJ Stroud has been fine, but he's still QB 13 on the year.
It's a no Schkapeel for me. He's only where he is by virtue of, as we mentioned prior, some forfeits and his lowly division. Only 5 teams can make the playoffs. I don't think by the end of the season he's going to end up on the top of this one. He hasn't even got the best all play in his own division, and I think other teams like Slot and maybe even Dad Dicks have a better chance of having their team improve on the back half than this team does. So it's a no Schkapeel for me.
Yeah.
And you were a real deal, Nick?
It's a real deal.
There you go. Shocker.
That's a real deal because this team's going to be whether or not this team's.
There can be only 5. He's not the 5th best team. Is he the 5th best team on your power rankings? No, he isn't. Like, come on.
Again, we discussed that whole middle pack is like legit, and it's can he get hot? Yes. Yeah. Do I want to play Dez? Okay. No.
So there's going to be 8 real deals. Very exciting.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Actually, more real deals. This makes the league more exciting for sure. All right, Dad Dicks are our next team. This was Hiller's pick for a division winner, the Dad Dicks. Dad Dicks sit at 4-6 at the moment. He is 43 and 34 in all play, so has been unlucky, very un-Grimes-like this year. He is averaging 122.6 points per game, which is the 3rd highest in the league. And
is this divorced Dad Dicks?
This is the divorced Dad Dicks. He's down on his luck. He's down bad. As the
can't get a win.
Yeah. And specifically in weeks 5 and 6, he lost 2 games by a combined 1.54 points, including one where he scored 156.08 points, the 2nd highest scoring team in the league, and he lost by 0.28 to the highest scoring team in the league that week. So pretty brutal, little stretch there for Grimes. That
much
said,
maligned.
It's a good team. He's got some injuries going on right now with Justin Fields and David Montgomery. But he's got a great wide receiver core, and if the running backs can bounce back, I think this team's a real deal, just based on the points he scored this year.
Mm-hmm.
I'd give him a real deal as well. Only one is going to get it out of this division. Sorry, Slod, you were a very close second, but being the only one that can stand by their convictions and actually choose real deals, I'm going to say that this is the one that makes it out of his division. I got to think, if you just keep scoring high and your players are good, you're eventually going to rise above the baked beans over time. I feel like it just has to out eventually, that there must be some regression to the mean here, and that's all it'll take for a team like this when it comes down to the end of the year when you're playing all your division rivals again in a row. It should be more than enough for him to eke out the one more victory that he needs. It'll put him in the division and therefore the playoffs.
So the players are what? It's Montgomery, right. Hawkinson, Chase.
Right. Tough choices. Plenty of good players on this team. Hawkinson in here because, as we all know, tight end positional advantage is so hard to claim in the first place and keep it all. It's not Kelsey wide, but it is pretty solid. Hard to let go, and I know from experience, hard to trade away from this team.
Actually, it's pretty easy to trade away because all you have to do is offer you a running back who was on fire for 1 game, and you can get a Travis Kelce.
Okay, well, no need to relitigate that. I'm saying,
wow,
savage burn from the past.
Stray from like 4 years ago.
Well, that from the Grudge Factory.
Completely unprovoked.
But right now, what we're talking about is the Dad Dicks and whether they keep, drop, or trade David Montgomery, TJ Hawkinson, and Jamar Chase.
Well, what is it, Hillers? You go.
I would say, as much as it pains me, you got to keep Chase. As bad as the Bengals have been, I feel like he's returning to form a little bit and has the most ceiling of any of these 3 players. And this is a team that bases its success largely off its wide receivers. I'd trade Hawkinson because I think you could get amazing value for it, and then sadly that means Montgomery has to go in the heap, which, I mean, maybe with him being in a potential future timeshare with Gibbs, I could one day learn to recover from if I was this team. So that's where I'd have him, but it wasn't easy.
Yeah, I think dropping Montgomery is the right choice, and then it becomes, do you want to trade Chase or Hawkinson? And I think you get more value out of Chase for name recognition and for what he could do. So you probably try to trade Chase and get a low end wide receiver 1, high end 2, and something else. And then you keep Hawkinson because of tight end value.
I'm keeping Chase. I'm dropping Hawkinson because tight ends, whatever, and because running backs are so hard to find, and David Montgomery has been amazing when he's been playing. So I'm keeping him.
There you go.
I'm trading.
There you go, Grimes. You have 3 different angles to look at what you need.
I'm trading Montgomery for a better tight end if I have to, I guess. And
one of the two.
One of the two for Mark Andrews. He will be mine.
I don't think.
Well, that would involve trading with Daria, and we know that's not going to happen.
And then dropping Hawkinson. So that's said. Are you guys? Are you real deal or no Schkapeel, Nick?
I'm real deal. I think that there are 3 teams in the division that are real deals because there are 3 teams that could win the division here.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's out of it yet in that division. Yeah.
Well, there is one person.
One person is for sure, but yeah.
But even technically, mathematically, he's not even. Oh wait, now mathematically he is. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, next team.
Like 9 real deals.
Mr. Hillers. Hillers, you were picked as a wild card by Nick and yourself. I picked you to be the toilet bowl champ. So
I don't think I'm gonna make any of those things.
Well, just wanted to get that on the record. You're currently sitting at 4-6 with a 30-47 all play. You're averaging 111.6 points per game, which puts you in 9th for scores. Do we want to go over some players here? Your 3.
Well, but these 3 I think are well chosen because really it's become the hallmark of my new strategy is who's coming along with the Sun God to be my keeper for next season. Which cheap young up and comer will receive my rose between Pickens, Collins, and Addison. And frankly, I don't know. I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on this one. If I knew, I wouldn't have them all.
Who's Collins?
Nico Collins.
Nico.
Oh,
at one time, top 10 receiver Nico Collins, fallen out of that position of late, but over the 100 mark on the season.
Yeah. Wow. Do we factor salary into this?
Well, the salary is reasonably low on all 3. We've got a $14 for Jordan Addison. These are current prices. $9 for Collins and $10 for Pickens. So they're all cheapies.
I trade Addison.
Yep.
I keep Collins and I drop Pickens.
All right, I keep Pickens and drop Collins.
And I do that because Collins is the number 1 on his team, and I'd rather have that with CJ Stroud.
I agree trading Addison is the piece here because Addison's value is only as high as Jefferson's out.
As Jefferson's hurt leg.
Yeah.
Right.
The minute, as evident by the game on Monday, Cousins the loser has basically eyes for that offense can support 2 targets. One of them is going to be Hawkinson. So it's going to be the alpha receiver, and then it's going to be Hawkinson, and that's it.
Yeah, totally with you. So, and just a little more here. I'm going to say no Schkapeel. I'm assuming
no
we all
Schkapeel.
are here.
There you go, Hillers. First, no Schkapeel. Second, no Schkapeel.
Just to
I'll be one of the 2 no Schkapeel teams.
Just to kind of go back on this, Hillers, you've given up Brandon Ayuk, Lamar Jackson, Christian Kirk, and Josh Jacobs. And in return, you've gotten Marvin Mims, Jeff Wilson, Brock Purdy, Jared Goff, Zeke Elliott, and Saquon. And I just can't help but think that if you wouldn't have given up those good players and gotten the bad players in the 3rd week of the season, that
they weren't all in the 3rd week.
No, sorry, but you started this. In the 3rd week.
Campaign.
When I spoke to you the 3rd week, you said, "Yeah, I've looked at my all play. I realize it's not happening this year." And so we were 17% of the way through the season, and then I
didn't like it.
You've got one big move left here, and that's to who's going to get Saquon, I think, right? And but for this season, it's no Schkapeel.
Yeah, it is. Mismanagement has definitely been a downfall for me this season. It isn't every season, and I know I'm often accused of mismanagement that proves to be right in the end, but that's not going to be this year. This year, it's just pretty bad. I've still got a strategy to get the 5 best cheap keepers I can for next season, and think I probably have pieces to get reasonably close to that. and some good lottery tickets that might serve me in good stead. I'm very happy to have Achan, Devon Achan. Is
Nailed
that right?
Yep, you got it.
Can't be right.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, you got it.
I like thrilled to have him. I think if he comes back and starts to take a larger role as Mostert ages or as Wilson is unable to play. But then I've got Wilson in there too if I need him. So it's like I'm working on the very long game now. And by that measure, it's not going too badly.
All right.
But yeah, for this season, yeah, we're done.
Slod Tadpoles, next team. I picked him as division winner and the league runner-up, by the way, to make the championship.
Yeah, you're a big Slod backer.
Big Slod backer, and he's coming on strong. He's 5-5 currently, 36-41 in all play.
Coming on 5-5.
115 points per game, and he started 0-4, and now he's 5-5. So yeah, he's coming on strong.
And he hasn't got the benefit of any forfeits. It's a real 5-5.
Yeah, it's legit 5-5.
An earned 5-5.
So he's 7th in points per game. So who do we got? Who do we got up? Who are we debating here for?
In this one, we have a young rookie that I know he likes a lot in Rashee Rice. He really likes him.
Yep.
Puka and Madison.
Those are really good. That's a really good choice. These are really good choices.
Because it would pain him deeply, I know, to throw Rashee Rice away because he has big plans. He told me big plans for Rashee Rice, and I believe him.
If we're factoring salary, we're trading Puka, I think.
Yeah.
And we're with Rice or Madison. Who are we dropping?
He has to keep Madison because he just does not have running back.
I'm dropping Rice.
There's nothing left in the running back core anymore.
Bonus question though. Here's a bonus question. He does have Nick Chubb on the IR. Like if he's trying to make a play for it, well,
he's been a keeper now for what, 5 years?
I mean,
his time.
If you could find someone else, who is out of it, and be like, hey, here's Nick Chubb for $46.
He's the same as Saquon, same tier as Saquon, right? I mean, they're both the same price.
Conceively.
Yeah,
price-wise they are. Talent-wise, I don't know. It seems...
I want Saquon. Give me, you basically get like Saquon for Nick Chubb is kind of what you're looking. Is that tier you're looking at? Like, but then that means that Hiller's is trying to make a run. Like,
no, Hiller's doesn't. He's not a Chubb guy, so that's what he's saying here.
Right, but I'm saying is that Chubb is a piece to move for a team that's out of it if you're trying to make a run.
Yes,
100%.
For sure.
Yeah, that's right.
And that would be this team for me because, as per the rule, only 5. Slod, you were just outside, just a bit outside. Team's good. I like what you've done with it. I like what you've done with the place. I don't know. Only one can come from your division, and you're not the best team in your division. So, good job on Puka, though. I mean, going in that hard on the first week is something I say that people should do, but we so rarely see it. And man, I don't know if it's ever paid off more than it did with that.
I think if it wasn't for this comes back to the thing we're talking. If it wasn't for the double forfeits, the fact that Ducks and Dicks both got +1 wins this week, I would probably give it to Slod.
Oh, he'd be in first because they're both. Yeah,
they'd be first with a bullet. I don't think Slod. I think they're a no deal. Or no Schkapeel. I think they're a no Schkapeel, and it pains me to say that. If Dad Dix wasn't 1 game behind them, which they are now, I would say that they are a real deal, and it's Slod's division to lose. But the margin for error is so small right now, and he doesn't have the tiebreaker. So I don't think he can do it.
I'm saying real deal. I'm a backer.
I know.
He's like I said, he's 5-1 in his last, however many games. He's been crushed by injuries. You mentioned Chubb. Miles Sanders is hurt now. Mike Williams is out for the year. Even Jerome Ford, Nick Chubb's handcuff, is now hurt. So just getting killed with injuries. But he's been real good about picking up the handcuffs for these people, right? So he's got Chuba Hubbard, to replace Miles Sanders if he's out. The Cleveland handcuff's not there, but. Mm-hmm. But his wide receivers, I mean, he's been picking up good players. Puka, everything's trending in the right direction for this team, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I think Puka looks to be strong even though Kupp is back. Rashee Rice continues to get more and more of the workload. Drake London continues to get more and more targets, it seems like, every week. The Falcons are actually throwing a little more than they did. Not only that, but Dawson Knox is now hurt for the Bills, which means Dalton Kincaid is going to be the main tight end focus for this offense going forward for the next few weeks. So I think this is a real deal team, and I think this team's going to win. I stick by it that this team's going to win the division.
I mean,
can see it.
I've been really surprised and pleased to see how savvy he's been on the waiver wires and selecting his players. This team could not be more in need of a marquee, a number one running back. But
you had one.
But it's a good team. It's a good team.
Yeah. All right.
Not a real deal.
All right. So to recap, it's a real deal for you, and it's no Schkapeel for Hillers and I.
Yep.
Sorry, Watson. Sorry, Larf. Hey, you can blame Watson for my no Schkapeel.
Yeah. Cyborg Tony Romo, our next team here. A wild card.
Oh, how great this one is!
A wild card pick by Nick. You and I, Nick. He was a wild card pick. He is currently at 4-6 with a 30-47 all play. So been a little unlucky, but under 500 in both.
Same as me.
That said, he's averaging 110.3 points per game, which is 11th. So that's second worst. So to recap, worst is, where are we?
Watson.
Worst is 87.4.
If you ever have to ask who is worst,
second worst is 110.3. So that's a 23-point difference between worst and second worst, which is
remarkable.
That's a lot. So
is there that big a difference between the 10th best team and the number one team?
No, there's not. Oh no, number one team, yes, but 10th and third, no. 10th and third are very close.
Wow, that's okay. Good to know.
Yeah. So all right.
Good context.
Who are we debating here for CTR?
Okay. Well, on this fallen juggernaut here, we do still have some things that would you'd want to take with you, and some things where you'd have to be wondering whether it's time to cut bait. Specifically, Breece Hall, Justin Jefferson, and his beloved Garrett Wilson.
That's a tough time.
That's the core of his future right there. Like, that's everything that he's.
Coincidentally, that's also the core of his team in the sense that he doesn't have anything outside of those three.
I would disagree. I mean, like, if Kyron Williams is the thing, that's his best running back right now.
Well, except that he's on IR, but yeah, sure.
Right, but like, we're talking about this is the future of the team, right? And two of these guys are leaving your squad. Which two are they between Jefferson, Hall, and Wilson?
I'm trading Jefferson because if I'm out of it, I am trading for the moon for Jefferson.
You think it's the Jordan Addison era?
No, because I'm trading Jefferson to a contender, and I'm saying that if Jefferson comes back, I'm banking on Jefferson coming back in a couple of weeks. I will trade CTR, whatever, and I just need Jefferson for the playoffs.
I'm keeping Jefferson. That's a number one overall pick right now.
Yeah.
Like, you can't replace that production. I don't care who you trade for. Right? Like, it's a mystery box situation from Family Guy. If you trade away Justin Jefferson, you could get anything. It could be anything. It could even be Justin Jefferson.
Right?
Yeah, it's like, no, like you keep.
Could it be a boat?
Yeah, exactly. Right. It
better be a boat because you're not getting a guy like Jefferson.
I don't want a fucking boat. I want my friend to win a boat.
That's
I'm keeping Jefferson. I think I'm trading. I think I can get the most for Hall this season, and then I'm dropping Garrett Wilson. Jesus.
Same thing for me, and an easy drop. I think. I mean, what has Garrett Wilson done
for this year? Yeah.
I mean, he's fine, I guess, but he's in a large pool of like number 2 wide receivers that are easy to trade for, and sometimes even easy to get off the waivers if you get him early enough. So he's not providing me with anything close to the appeal of the other two, and you're going to want some appeal if you're on the trade market. You can maybe still get that with Breece Hall with the absolutely savage injury situation that we have with running backs this season. There are people out there that need running backs and will give you something for them. Any running back. Are they running? I will take them.
They'll even give you Zeke Elliott and Jared Goff.
They will. They'll do it. And so,
I mean, this team, I don't know if you guys remember, I think I mentioned this on a podcast last year when I was talking to Roscoe at the draft, not this year, but last year. he said the last year he thought was kind of his last ride with the core that he had, right? He had Alvin Kamara, Aaron Jones, Justin Jefferson, Debo Samuel, George Kittle. Like, that was the core that kind of got him his championships, right? And he was like, I think this is my last shot. And it didn't hit, right? Last year. And so now this is him. This is his new core, right? He's trying to find this new core. And Jefferson, Hall, and Wilson are going to be part of that. Unfortunately, the Aaron Rodgers injury at the start of this year just absolutely murdered his Jets value. And so that's really hurt him.
Yeah.
Justin Jefferson is now hurt. Khalil Herbert's on IR. Deontay Johnson was out for the first 6 weeks of the year. Like, this team has just been ravaged by injuries this year, indirectly or directly. And so, I think if some of these guys come back, there's a chance he could play spoiler because there are good players here. But I think next year, I think he is starting to build a good core. And I think this is a team. When Aaron Rodgers comes back, Garrett Wilson is going to be potentially a top 10 receiver next year in drafts. I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Especially for keeper leagues. People are going to be all over him again. Oh, Aaron Rodgers is back. He's a good quarterback.
Yeah.
So I'm saying no Schkapeel this year, but I think he's building something here.
Yeah, it's not easy to build a dynasty core. You may be shocked to find, Roscoe, after coming in and winning so easily. So,
but he did build a dynasty core because that's exactly what he did.
I know, but I'm saying now that it's gone, they don't just pop up again, right?
Sure. No Schkapeel for me too, just to make sure it's
yeah.
Great spoiler, but no Schkapeel.
All right. Gazebo's next. Gazebo was a playoff pick for all three of us. Nick and I had her as a division winner, and Hillers, you had her as a wild card. Why don't you support the Gazebo more, Hillers? I mean, you're such a Gazebo hater.
Well,
not only that, but just before I realize I see my next line here. Before I say that, Nick and Hillers picked Gazebo to win the championship this year. So,
yeah. Okay. Well, as long as I'm renouncing that's season 1 picks. This has got to be one on the heap. This is not one of the years where things break in the rotting Gazebo's direction.
Well, Daria could not be more middle of the road so far this year. 5-5 record, 38-39 all play, and 115.9 points per game, which puts her right at 6th. So this is the definition of middle of the pack.
Spectacularly middling team. Yeah.
So could go either way, right? That said, what kind of players are we talking about here?
Well, there are still good players on this team, players that you would conceivably want, and that she's definitely valued and kept close through trade offers from various teams. We have Devontae Adams, we have Kenneth Walker III, and we have Jalen Waddle.
All right.
All of which precious assets.
I mean, actually, no, I'm keeping Walker because stud. I'm trading Waddle because value, and I'm dropping Adams because Raiders.
Because Raiders.
Whoa. Okay. I'm going to reset on that. I am dropping Waddle because Waddle hasn't really done much this year. I am probably trading Adams and keeping Walker.
I think I'm on that same thing, not because Adams still isn't producing like reasonably wide receiver 1 good numbers, but at $34 and at what, 6 years of keeperness, 5 years, it's just starting to get a little long in the tooth. And if if somebody has to go, you can still get some good value out of a number 1 wide receiver like that.
All right, 100%. The reason why I say I'm dropping Adams is because I have Myers, and I'd rather have Myers than Adams. So bias, right? So 100% raising my hand, saying bias.
Yeah. All right.
It would be interesting for this team. Closely considered for this game also was Mark Andrews, who is not the second best tight end, but still positional advantage. But $23 for a tight end, a little steep and kind of disappointing.
It's not $22. It's $22. How many points are you getting at your tight end? It's not. You're not spending $22 for tight end.
Almost 100. Yeah, I mean,
you're.
Yeah, Andrew's basically a receiver in the tight end slot, right?
Yeah.
Like you're saying that, but it's like so. Oh well, Kelsey's a tight end. So how much are you gonna pay for Kelsey? Like,
I mean, more than $23. Is he for sale for that? Because
let's get to my team and we'll find out who my
I suppose
stay tuned league.
I suppose we will. But
this
it's a no Schkapeel team for me. Just it hasn't got the guns. Yeah, and injuries and just the general Daria-ness of how the points against and scores have panned out on a given week is. I mean, 1,200. It's not the highest points against in the league, but it's higher than most.
Well, you can't control points against.
No, you can't. But
she's right. She's right where she should be. Point record wise, points wise, everything. Like it's
this and So if we continue along this trend, not enough wins to make wild card. So
yeah, we're looking at 9-8 or 8-9, right?
Yeah.
I say no Schkapeel, and even it's kind of like the lower half no Schkapeel because it's like you might play spoiler for a couple of teams, but I'm not necessarily as afraid of this team as I used to be, as I was last year.
Yeah, I'm saying no Schkapeel too here.
Steelers, look at that. We've had like 4 no Schkapeels in a row.
I just think tough division, but also it's just
this
team looking at it. It's just a team that hasn't clicked yet, right? It's like there's really good players here. Javonte Williams, like just not fully back from the injury. Devontae Adams, all of a sudden not the focal point of that offense. Chris Godwin is like it's just not vibing yet with Baker, right? I mean, these are just it's like the team just hasn't gotten off the bus yet. Like there's really good players here that just aren't doing what they normally do. And that's kind of where Gazebo, I think, is stalled out a little bit. And maybe that'll change.
Why wasn't Brian Robinson on this list?
Because as running backs go, it's just sort of, okay. You never know what a Commanders is going to do from time to time. I can't think of a Commanders player that has been kept for 3 years in a row over the last, 6 years
Robinson
or so.
Hasn't been kept.
Well, I get it, but I'm just saying, there are more than 3 players on each team that it would be fine to play this game with. For any individual team, we could do multiple permutations of this, except for Watson,
I think they're just throwing out that X factor sometimes for teams is good to know.
Yeah, totally. A great player, and I think she's making her way back as best she can with guys like. Looking to the future, seeing if a lottery ticket like Jaleel McLaughlin might pay off or something like that. But there's too many bids that looked good to a lot of people at the beginning of the season that it's almost like the anti-slot. They just didn't go the way that was hoped. And,
it's the anti-TDJ is what it is.
And that happens a lot.
Is it John Satan? The CDS?
Yeah, right. All right,
or is it the safety Jesus?
Speaking of which, TDJ's next. Touchdown Jesus sitting at
how timely.
How about that? Sitting at 6-4. A lot better than we all thought preseason because there were no playoff picks for TDJ. I think unanimously 12th in our power rankings. I think at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, and not even off the strength of a Bijan.
Yeah,
really.
41 and 36
it's not
in all play.
It's Bijan.
You don't tell me how it is.
41 and 36 in all play, so right on pace with where he should be. 121 points per game, which puts him in 4th in the league for scoring. So who are we looking at here for TDJ?
Well, when most of your team is $1 picks, you end up with a lot of good keeper value sometimes for all those ones that sort of hit harder than expected. But in this case, we're looking at Jonathan Taylor, Patrick Mahomes, and Sam Laporta. Assuming you don't keep an $80 player.
Keep Mahomes, trade Taylor, drop Laporta. That one's easy for me.
Really?
Yeah.
I say keep Laporta.
Hillers, I'm with you.
So you're dropping either Mahomes or Jonathan Taylor for a rookie tight end who's had 6 weeks of solid performance.
I mean, you can't trade for a Kelsey when they've been at the top of their position for years.
So you're saying you're betting that you'd rather bet that Laporta is Travis Kelsey than stick with Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback in football.
I mean, if he goes back in the draft next year, which he would if you dropped him, then
I can always pick up Laporta. I can always pick up Mahomes again. Just because I drop him doesn't mean I can't pick him back up again.
When Laporta goes back in the draft, you can get him for $9 or whatever next year.
That will not be true if he's in the draft next year. We'll see. That will not. I promise you, that will not be true.
I mean, Merrill, if Laporta keeps up what he's doing,
positional advantage. It's the biggest thing you can get in the league, and so hard to come by. Mahomes has some of it as the best quarterback in the league. But there are other quarterbacks that are close. There are not a lot of tight ends that are close to Laporta, especially not at $1. So that's a keeper.
Sam Laporta is the number 4 tight end, averaging 12.9 points per game.
Yep.
There are 8 other tight ends within 3 points of that per game. So, yeah, I think there are others that are like
It's
that.
rookie season. Give him some time to grow.
Yeah,
anyway,
I don't want to give him time to grow. I want to keep Patrick Mahomes.
Drop Mahomes, keep Taylor. As much as the best quarterback in the league is
Mr.
good,
I love quarterbacks. Wow.
no, I am looking for a keeper quarterback. I know what quarterbacks can be traded for, and it's not loads, unless you happen to get me at the right week, apparently. But I just don't think if you're in the trade market, you're going to get nearly as much for a Mahomes in our league, especially again, see running back struggles as you would for a guy like Taylor. So I got to trade him, which means Mahomes is the odd man out here.
I think you could not be more wrong on the statement you just made. By the way, I think you would
TDJ's
definitely get more for Patrick Mahomes than you would for Jonathan Taylor.
Well, find out, Pritchard. Prove us wrong. Go trade one of those two guys. See what you get. Call to action.
All right, so real deal. First of all, real deal. Contending for a wild card spot in this league, in this debate, like hands down. This team for stars and scrubs is doing phenomenal. Great job, Pritchard, for putting this together.
Yeah, I'm gonna say real deal too. Second place. Just again, has had the hit rate that teams like Gazebo have not had. So like, whether it's Zach Moss, whether it's just some of the other players, Mike Evans, Sam Laporta. Like I said, the players have all hit, and so this team is vibing, and I think it will likely continue. So I'll say real deal for this.
And I'm going to go with Hillers and say that I am keeping Laporta for the positional advantage at $1. I'm keeping Taylor, and I'm dropping Mahomes because you can.
You said
value.
Keep twice.
You what?
You said keep twice.
No, I'm
well
keeping Laporta. I'm dropping Mahomes, and I'm keeping Taylor.
You guys are
because
insane.
The value that
you're trading,
the
Taylor.
difference in value that you get at the quarterback position isn't as high at the other positions. Merrill, don't. The rules of the game are you have to choose. That's what I'm choosing. I'm keeping Laporta. Or
I understand that, but you're saying the difference in position, assuming that Laporta is going to be Kelsey, like that kind of difference.
I'm not expecting him to be.
Or even Mark Andrews, that kind of difference, and there's just not that many. I think he might be T.J. Hawkinson if we're lucky, and T.J. Hawkinson is was a $10 tight end when he was drafted like last year, so he was kept for 13, I think. So like I just, and. Is he great? Yeah, but is he that big of a difference maker? Like, I just don't see it compared to the comfort of starting Patrick Mahomes in your quarterback spot every week.
And you know what, Merrill? Here we go. Can you name the top 5 quarterbacks this year?
I know Patrick Mahomes is one of them.
He is 100%.
He's one of them every year because he's one of them every year.
Sure. It's
will be
Allen, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, all of whom were kept. Then it's Tua, Cousins, Goff, Herbert, Purdy, Wilson. The bottom 5 were not kept, and the difference between Josh Allen and number 10 is 40 points, which, by the way, is a lot.
That's a lot.
I'm not arguing that it's not a lot. It's 18 points. It's an average of 18 versus 24.
You're not doing points per game, by the way, which is really the better statistic to go by, because there've been bye weeks.
Not for the top 2.
Sure, I'll do averages. Then it's 24 for
not
Josh
for the
Allen,
top 3,
and it's 19 for Jordan Love. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of the top 10 in that case were actually back at the draft. So what I'm saying is that you can roll the dice that you're going to get a top 10 quarterback by throwing him back in the draft.
Yeah. Okay.
All right,
So,
guys, let's keep moving. We've talked about this a lot.
This is a real deal team for me too. I one and
Sorry.
perhaps even two of the wild card teams are coming out of the pork chop division,
Sorry.
and one
Yeah,
of
let's
them's
keep
gonna
moving.
be
We spent way too much time talking about this.
Not going to happen, Chiefs. This was a toilet bowl winner for Hillers, but surprisingly, none of us picked Esther to get back to the playoffs after his
You didn't believe in him.
last year.
There's a lot of lingering hurt feelings around the not going to happen, Chiefs.
Yeah, none of us picked him after he ran through us in the playoffs last year. And he's 7-3 currently, a 43-34 all play, so not super lucky or anything. 120.7 points per game, which is fifth, which puts him in fifth. Who are we looking at for his players here that we're looking at?
So interesting things to choose from. Players that I know he values super highly, all of them. We have DeAndre Swift, Stephon Diggs, and Cooper Kupp.
All right.
I think this one's pretty easy, right?
I don't know. You say that,
before,
but we have not had a unanimous agreement yet.
Yeah, I mean it's keep Diggs, trade Kupp, drop Swift.
Actually, yeah, that's what mine is. Yes.
Oh, I would.
Don't buy into Swift. Please don't buy into Swift.
I don't want to, but $14 for a running back and over 100 points. But you're right. I mean, you got to keep Diggs. I would. Yeah, I mean, I guess you could get more out of Kupp than Swift on the trade market, unless you were talking to me.
But it's salary too, I think, right?
It is because Coop has a $41.
I wouldn't even worry about salary right now. Like it's
no.
But if you're trading now, you're trading to a contender this year. You're not trading a keeper, right? Where Diggs is, you're probably keeping Diggs. You're probably not keeping Kupp.
You're looking for both the teams that are trying to win now and the ones that are planning for next year. Where can you get the broadest value if you're putting one of these players out for trade? And I just don't think you can get the broadest value for a $41 wide receiver of any description, especially not Kupp, because he was hurt for the first 4 weeks, so his numbers don't look like they usually do.
You gotta look at points per game again.
Because he is a real deal, you can't trade Kupp.
Well, no, but you can't trade Diggs either because he's a real deal.
Well, he's not actually going to be forced to do these things.
That's the thing, right?
This is a rhetorical exercise.
If you're forced to do it, give me Diggs who I can keep for 2 more seasons, probably.
Well, we'll put it in rules yelling next year is that you actually have to do the things that the podcast
I think
agrees.
that's a good call. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the only fair
also a
thing
real
to
deal
do.
real deal for me. This is a team that has a high ceiling, but like Derrick Henry and Devonta Smith were part of that ceiling, and they just haven't really hit yet. He's only had 2 weeks over 130 points, which I know sounds like we're nitpicking here, but that's the kind
probably didn't last season either.
That's the kind
of
level.
It's a high ceiling and a really low floor.
That's the kind of level you need to be at if you want to make a run, right? Is you need to start consistently putting points up there. Considering some of the other teams out there.
This is what we said about him last year. This is what we said about him last year.
Right.
At this time last year, we were like, no Schkapeel because he doesn't have the ceiling to do what he needs to do.
Well, I'm saying real deal because one thing that we do have with this is his team no one ever on his team ever gets hurt. So the fact that he'll be healthy all year long, no matter what, makes him a real deal team.
He's got a good all play. He's got some no Schkapeels in his division. He's got a solid lineup, and I think you definitely can make championship teams out of teams that are in like the 120 point area, just quite frequently.
He did it last year.
Rather than you don't have to have a team that scores like 160 every once in a while. If you have a team that is scoring,
I did say this is nitpicking, by the way,
all the time. I get it, but I'm just saying like. I don't think high ceiling is as defining of a champion if we look back over history.
Oh, no, it absolutely is. It's absolutely about the high ceiling because you need to have those boom games when you're, in the playoffs and have to beat someone by 2.5 yards.
Well, maybe you both have low scores and the 2.5 yards is from 89 to 90
You need the low
points.
floor for the 1 week games and you need the high ceiling for the championship is what you need.
And double headers, really, if we're talking about getting
That's what he has. Yeah, no, I mean, 100% real deal.
Yeah, it's a real
mainly
deal
because it comes down to there are 2 other teams. There are 2 teams in this division that are real deals, and there are 2 teams that are not. So he just has to beat the baked beans, basically, for the wild card.
Yeah. Well, sticking with the rule of 5, this is my other wild card team. It's not going to happen, Chiefs.
So we can so we're done. We're done with yours then.
Yeah, so there's no Schkapeels for the rest of the night.
No.
No,
there's
never mind.
two
That's
more.
his just wild card team. Yeah. Okay.
No, there's two more.
All
Second
right.
wild card team.
Speaking of done for the night, Weenye is our next team. He's at 3-7.
Done for the night. Done for the rest of the season.
He's at 3-7 on the year, 35-42, 110.7 points per game, which puts him in 10th. What players are we looking?
We're talking about Keenan Allen, Josh Jacobs, and JSN, the beloved draft pick lottery ticket. Jackson Smith and Indigigabu. Is it coming?
Good job, Hillers.
Is it coming? Yeah, I'm pretty sure I nailed that. So, yeah, that's what he's got. He's got Josh Jacobs at $30. He's got Keenan Allen at $32, and the Smith and Indigigabu at $20.
I think
so
we can
none
all
of these
agree
are
on this
cheap. Maybe. Let us see.
Who are we trading?
Nick, how about you go first on this one?
Why was this? Who are we trading? You're trading Allen.
We'll say it. We'll count to 3 and say it. Ready?
You're trading Allen.
Yeah, Allen. Yeah.
Hillers.
I'm kind of inclined to keep Allen. I mean, the way he's playing and the way the Chargers are this
You're not
year,
wrong. You're not
if
wrong.
you're keeping anybody, I mean,
you're not wrong. Okay, so you're not wrong. Okay,
scoring his quarterback for Christ's sake.
All right, then Merrill. All right, well then, who are we keeping? I say Jackson Smith and Jigba. I say JSN. Merrill.
No, Josh Jacobs. But a running back at that price is 25 years old. Who's the main workhorse for their team? Yeah, it's been a tough 7 weeks, but I'm not.
All right, give me Jacobs. Yeah, that's fine. Give me Jacobs.
I'm trading Jacobs, keeping Allen, and dropping JSN. That's not happening like he thought it was gonna.
Yeah, JSN is at this point equivalent to waiver wire fodder, right? Like he just hasn't
essentially.
He's all potential right now, and it's just if you got.
All right, you say Earl. It's you're trading Allen, keeping Jacobs, dropping Jacobs. Yeah, that's fine. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Another team, another
just keeping Allen at 32 years old. I think he is now. That's just for me, Hillers. That's why
I think he's got 1 or 2 more seasons left in him. The way that team is going,
he might. But I think Josh Jacobs has.
I'm gonna need him to be good for another decade. You know what I mean? You're building a team for next year.
Jacobs is cheaper and younger is the reason, I guess. But
no
I
deal.
Will say,
no Schkapeel.
No Schkapeel.
Yeah, this went bad so fast for Andy. By the way, this was He was after week 4. He was 28-16 in all play. He was averaging 126 points a game. All right, this is 3 weeks later. He's averaging 110 points a game. He's dropped 16 points on his average.
Jesus
all right,
Christ.
He's gone 7-26 in all play. He scored 69 points 1 week, 118 right at league average the week after that, and then 80 points the week after that, and just like that. It's over. It's
just like that.
Just like that. And it's not technically over. I mean, this team could, in theory, this is a team that has players that could go undefeated the rest of the way. Well, maybe even sneak in at 9-8.
That's good enough for a real deal for you.
It's not.
Good in theory, make the playoff.
The other thing I'll say is he's got the most points against by with a bullet, 136 points per game scored against them.
So many.
The next closest is 121, a 15-point difference. So
getting a 199 burger dropped against you is tough.
That's part of that for sure.
It doesn't help.
But Josh Jacobs, Aaron Jones, Anthony Richardson, Jahan Dotson, DK Metcalf, JSN, all of these players, it's the same story every year for Andy. The poor guy. These are all players we like.
But he's kind of done with his bye weeks for a little while.
He's kind of done with his losses too.
And what? Yeah, he can afford one more loss. You think he's going to go?
Yeah, no, he can. But I'm just saying, his bye weeks are done for the most part. I mean, it's Tajay. Yeah, he's done until week. Oh, he has Brandon Ayuk.
I can hear you trying to talk yourself into this, and I just.
Oh no, I'm not. It's no deal.
That.
Oh, it's no Schkapeel. Don't get me
for
wrong.
all of us, for sure.
There's no Schkapeel. Don't get me wrong.
I
am just saying that a lot of this is, aside from what's been going on, he had 1, 2, 3, 4 of his heavy hitters were in week 5, 1 and 2 in week 6.
We don't need to go through everybody.
No, I would say if I could change out one of the players, I would put the IR'd Anthony Richardson on there because I know he's keeping him down there for a reason, even though he has Justin Herbert, who's doing very well. I know he secretly wants to hold on to Richardson.
Over $9, I would keep Richardson.
Well, Richardson was like a top 3 quarterback.
Yeah.
Even when he only played like 2 quarters in a game, he was silly.
No, he was killing it.
I will say this team is going to ruin someone's season. By the way, in like the last 3 weeks, Andy's going to put
That'll
up
be
monster
hilarious.
points. Like the last 3 weeks of the year, Andy's going to be putting up like 135 points a game. Like,
he's gonna do for like the
Toilet bowl contender.
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Longest 2.5 yards. 2 teams left. Longest 2.5 yards. Nick, you have.
I'm gonna grab a beer. I will while you guys talk.
Yep. Nick had himself as a division winner. I had Nick as a wild card, and Hillers, you did not have this team as a playoff team. Currently,
another poor year for me.
Currently 8-2 with a 52-25 all play, averaging 137.8 points per game, which is second. The next closest is 122. Just to remind everyone, so that's a 15-point difference in points per game. Which players are we going to debate here, Hillers?
Yeah, a team's killing it. Damned if I know how, but he's nailing it. The players we are asking keep, cut, or trade are Austin Eckler, AJ Brown, and the man himself, Travis Kelce. Kelce is a 34-year-old player that costs $32, and yet I still feel like strong contender for keeper here. As a tight end, like there's no one like him in football right now, and as old as every year,
I'm keeping Kelce.
Yeah, every year we think, this is the year.
I'm keeping him until he can't do it anymore. I'm dying. I'm dying with Travis Kelce.
Off, right? Until the wheels fall off. Who knows what burst of youth?
When it's over for Kelce, it's over for me. That's what I'm saying.
A Taylor Swift romance is added to this career. I don't know, but you cannot get anything like this in the tight end space. So as crazy as it is to say a 32-year-old or a $32, a 34-year-old tight end is the keeper on a team that's second in points, it's still true. Which leaves us.
You know what's ridiculous about is that I honestly feel like he's having a down year, and he's still 30 points above the guy next below him.
Well, that's because his year last year was historic. I mean, everything's going to feel like a down year.
I've had him for so long. I understand what it's like to have Travis Kelce.
You remember what you traded away for him?
There was a running back from Miami. He was
Kenyon Drake, who...
you remember the historically great Kenyon Drake.
Incidentally, was not even kept. It was an off-season trade where you just were handed Travis Kelce for free.
So decided to bring that up again, huh? All right. Well,
felt it needed to be.
Interesting.
Also, I'm trading AJ Brown and dropping Austin Eckler.
I am trading Austin Eckler because I think a $28 running back with his cachet of he's still like a top tier running back, and the fact that he missed so much of the season, I might actually be able to get a little bit more for him than I could even for a top tier receiver, given that it's $42 worth of top tier receiver. But it's close. But I think I'm trading Eckler and dropping Brown. Nick, what say you?
I mean, I know that I don't have to do any of this. I get that.
You must. This is the rule next year.
I am trading Eckler.
Right.
And I am keeping Kelce, so that means I have to drop Brown.
Okay.
Away he goes. Is that the first? Is that the first consensus?
I will say, obviously, real deal here. It wasn't consensus. No. I dropped Eckler.
It wasn't. Of course not. Why would it be?
Nick's doing this with, Eckler missing most of the season so far, and not even really back yet. Kind of struggling. James Conner's now out. Kamara was out for the first 4 weeks. So Nick's done this with a lot of players, and he's going to get Kyler Murray back. Not that he really needs him. I mean, he's got a good quarterback, but this is this is a good team, and I mean, it looks to be getting better.
You better hope that they never figure out how not to just check down to him on every play, because he's getting so many receptions. Alvin Kamara, it's crazy to watch the gameplay of him, and he gets 10 yards rushing and 13 receptions. You're
it's terrible.
He has
football.
13. He has
terrible football.
Honestly, what it is it makes me feel bad that what we should actually do is I don't think the set allows it, but receptions have to be for positive yards. Like you have to gain at least 1 yard on a reception to get it. Like, which I guess by
that'd
definition,
cut his value in half, guys.
Yeah.
no. What I'm just saying is that it's like, oh, I'm going to check down. I'm going to check down. Like he'll have what did he have last week? He had like 13 receptions for 23 yards, and it was like, well, I got 15 points in receptions alone, and 13 of them were because he caught the ball.
As an Olave owner, this must be killing you that they don't even look at receivers anymore. They
Olave had 15 targets last week.
check down instantly.
He had 15 targets.
Michael Thomas still had like what?
I know, but you can't help
like,
but think like how much better could this be if
Oh
they
yeah,
actually
for sure.
look at receivers.
It is terrible to watch the Saints because Derek Carr's first look dump off, first look dump off, first look. It's terrible.
First, second, and third look dump off, and then maybe if there's time.
I will say this is one of the team the last team we're going to talk about too. The two old guy teams we kind of have, right? You got Eckler, 28-year-old running back. Kamara, 28-year-old running back. Connor, 28-year-old running back. Travis Kelce, 34-year-old tight end. That's kind of like the core of the team, right? I mean, A.J. Brown obviously is part of that too, but like
Looks
the
like
core
a
of the team, like
team to
older
me.
veteran-style players, killing it. Absolutely killing it. So
The graying of the
just
NFL.
real deal. I think we
real
all
deal
agree
team.
on real
Yeah,
deal.
Kurt Warner's.
real deal team. Probable division winner. And as long as we're talking about the consensus real deals, obvious division winners, we've got the probably most dominant team in the league thus far. Much as that pains most of us to recognize, it is the Hitmen. They're not getting hit like they used to, and as a result, they have an 8-2 record, a 66-11 all play, which is easily topping the entire league.
It is.
And a 4-game win streak, over 1,000 points for, I think, the first team to eclipse that, and really just putting on a show here. So
yeah, 143.2 points per game. Yeah, just to kind of continue what I was talking about before, like another old guy team, by the way. You know, Kareem Hunt 28, CMC 27, Mixon 27, Mostert 31, Tyreek Hill 29, DeAndre Hopkins 31.
are you even starting Mixon these days?
Dallas Goedert 28. Yeah, every week. Dallas
Really?
Goedert 28. I mean, so like Nick, it's funny. Nick and I kind of have. I mean, I have more old guys, obviously, but like we've kind of built our team on like the class of whatever 6 years ago, you know, and it's like
I think Raheem Mostert was on the team
what is
6
this
years
team?
ago.
Give us the 2019 team of this team.
Oh,
And like
we'd be unbeatable. Yeah.
Well,
So anyway,
in any case, much like the worst teams in the league, sometimes there's not loads to say about the best team in the league. There's not really debate on dealness here, but we can theorize on what would happen if he was forced to make Sophie's choice amongst his precious old players and one new player. We have Raheem Mostert, Tyreek Hill, maybe the only choice that has two on the same team, and Chris Olave, who you still seem to think is just everyone wants real bad. So, Nick, how about you help us start this one, and we'll get to Merrill last.
all right, sure.
To
So I'm
have
dropping
this
Olave.
fun.
So hands down, dropping Olave.
Yeah.
I think I'm keeping. Oh yeah, and I'm keeping Hill, and I'm trading Mostert.
Same. But can this be our first consensus? I think it's easy to see why. I mean, Tyreek Hill is looking
yeah, I think it's
dominant than he ever has.
I think
at
it's the same.
186 points.
Yeah, no, I'd say the
First
same.
consensus.
You have to.
I
Say,
oh
Oh my
mean,
god, do we
Mostert's-
really? Or did you really take us 12 teams to get to the consensus?
Yeah, I mean, Mostert's the number 2 running back in the league. Hill's the number 1 wide receiver in the league. You can't like, you got to get something out of those, right? And Olave is,
yeah.
you know, he's fine.
Mostert
He's
is
like top 20, I think, but like
Mostert
you know.
is
And
$6.
arrested for speeding.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, here's the other thing, and this kind of gets to the, you know, obviously, I think we all say real deal here. Probably not trying to be, you know,
Real deal.
cocky or anything, but Tyreek Hill out missed practice today with a hip injury. Raheem Mostert missed practice today with an ankle injury. So here come the injuries that we've all been waiting for.
I mean, Raheem Mostert, I think
Here's the
everybody
thing.
in the league all season has been looking and being like, okay, well,
If there's ever a time you're
they've
going to
got
get
other
injured,
guys coming back.
if there's
and he's
ever a
31.
time you're going to get injured, now's the time. You've
When
built
you've
up
already
enough of a
clinched.
lead.
Yeah.
You've built up enough of a lead in your division. You're playing Assassins this week. Sorry, Watson. You're at 9-2 essentially. Like even when you piecemeal a team together, you're at 9-2. And then you just have to piece together, a couple of wins. Like you have a 2-game advantage on TDJ. Like the divisions.
It would be a historic collapse if you didn't make the playoffs at this point.
Well,
but no, it would be. That's indisputable.
It would be very Hitman-like.
We would be talking about it for a while. I mean, I know you talk about it every season when your team collapses, but this one would feel different to the rest of us. I assure you.
Look, it comes down to health. I think for me and Nick, I think I'll just go. I think it's Nick and I are the favorites right now, assuming we're healthy going into the playoffs. And I don't think it's close, honestly.
It's not controversial.
Yeah. That could change obviously week to week. A lot of things change, but that's kind of where we are. So we'll see. But I think that's it, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So
real deal.
Anyway,
So can you? Did anyone keep track of this, or do we have to do this again?
I've got it written. Well, we can always. We recorded it, so there's that.
If you really want to know, go back and watch.
Go back and watch. And let us know what you think in the comments. Like and subscribe. So that's it. We're going to shut it down. This is a long
I mean, at this point,
Nick,
we should.
You didn't have some inquiries for us this time?
I do. I'm 100% 20. At this point, if you're,
do we want to keep going?
Oh, an hour and a half, really? Okay, yeah. Let's shut it down. Let's save it for next.
If you're in for an hour and a half, aren't you in for another like 5 minutes to play 20 questions?
No.
Okay.
No, we'll do it next time. Save it.
No, we aren't.
Yeah. Thanks to anyone who's still listening at this point, even though we know you just went to your team and listened. So you're not listening now. So do your own podcast. For
your own damn podcast if it's so easy.
For Nick.
And we will like and subscribe to that too.
No problem.
For Hillers.
I'm busy, man.
We are signing off. Talk to you guys later.